You're up.
Okay, so hello everyone. I see anyhow, of course, issues at the beginning. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Filip Rakowski, CTO and co-founder of Vue Storefront. With me, there is Patrick, Andrew, our tech lead, and I want to welcome all of you in our June monthly product update. So this time we are welcoming a little bit more people on the event, and basically, if you haven't been here before, the purpose of this event is to give you a quick overview of the things that we're working on related to Vue Storefront ecosystem, and to give you a quick overview of what we have done since the last meeting. So today, the hosts are, of course, Patrick and me, but also we have Filip Jędrasik in our Radom headquarters. We have Maciek Kuzmus in our Wrocław headquarters with Kuba Andrzejewski, and we have two new guests from our community. So there is Aitor from Ecritel, and soon also from Vue Storefront, who is working on Magento 2 integration, and there's Pavel from FrogPoint, who is working on Salesforce integration. And first of all, I want to apologize. There wasn't a community update last month, but the reason of that was that the whole Vue Storefront team was on vacation on Tenerife, and we're having a very good time. We took a little bit time off, so we weren't able to do this. But this time, refueled, we are giving you much more things to update on. So let me start with Vue Storefront 2, and Patrick, our technical leader, will talk about.
Okay, hello everyone. So at the beginning of the presentation, I will show you what's the status of Vue Storefront 2 and what about the latest releases. So first of all, we released a version 2.3, which is the version with the quite new, let's say, change when it comes to architecture. And one of the biggest, let's say, features, like the biggest changes, is the middleware. And the middleware is like something like a backend for frontend, which works in our architecture. And now, when you call a function on the browser, so let's say you are calling, for example, the function for getting the product. So you actually are calling the middleware, and the middleware is like an executor of this function in this architecture. So by doing something like that, you are achieving, first of all, a smaller bundle size when it comes to JavaScript that you are shipping to the browser. And secondly, you can increase even the number of living integration in the middleware without even touching a front-end side, which means you can interact with those integrations by using API client, for example, but still you are not influencing the bundle size, which is quite cool because you want to ship as less JavaScript to the front-end side as possible. And secondly, the reason why we did something like that is the security, because we can store, let's say, the credentials on the backend side, and they will never be shipped to the browser as well. So that's another reason. And then the middleware is calling the external platforms with using this API client in this like inside of this middleware. And lastly, on the middle, you have a standardized way of writing an extensions. So, for example, if you want to inject into life cycle of the request of the networking actually itself, on the that goes over the middleware, so from the front end side to the external APIs. So you have a standardized way of implementing an extensions, and you can react, for example, or maybe even enrich the responses that are coming from the external platform. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we splitted the checkout to the smaller composables. So in the past, we used one composable for handling the whole checkout logic. And right now, we have a couple more composables. So we just actually splitted the use checkout to the smaller units. And each one is dedicated for, let's say, one logic responsible for specific thing when it comes to checkout. So going from the order, you have a use shipping for handling the shipping stuff. You have a billing for handling the billing stuff. Then you have a my order to make an order in your e-commerce system. And lastly, you have something like a payment providers, because payment in our architecture, basically in general in the e-commerce stuff, in the web application stuff, it's something different and must be handled differently. And this is something about which is on the next slide. So when it comes to payment providers, so always on the browser, you are using, like, no matter what the platform you are using, no matter what payment provider you are using, if this is, for example, ADN, Stripe, Braintree, or something even else, you always are importing from this integration a specific component called payment provider. And payment provider is the component written for each integration. So this is something like a contract for us. And for each integration, you are writing this component, and then you are using this on the browser side in the same way as the others. So, like, no matter what the platform you are using, again, if this is ADN, Stripe, Braintree, or something else, you always will be using payment provider. And payment provider is sharing for you probes, and that allows you to inject into also a life cycle of this payment stuff. And in that way, for example, you can inject into the, let's say, payment process with using Afterpay, maybe before payment is happening, so you can use you can use before pay. Then maybe you can inject and do something with the original SDK, so you can use before init or after init. And by doing something like that, you have one quite good abstraction when it comes to payment systems, and you always have one standardized way of interacting with the payment systems. And maybe the question you might hear is why we didn't do that, for example, in the middleware layer or with the composable stuff. So the reason is most of the payments are implemented by using iframes because of the PCI and so on. So you cannot send the request over the middleware, over additional backend stuff, because it breaks the PCI. So we introduced something like a provider's components, because first of all, we can interact with the payments from the browser side, and we don't have to, like, send anything over the additional, let's say, middle layers, like middlewares on another networking stuff. And we still keeps the PCI, because we are still using the original API underneath, but everything is implemented in this payment provider component. So you don't have to do this again. And from your perspective as a project developers, you can just use the provider component on the browser, and that's it. And you can implement the payment, like the payment flow, by yourself. So that's all. Next, of course, we are planning to release 2.4. And just briefly, I will show you what's the roadmap for this release. So first of all, we want to implement something like a platform API. So the platform API means that from the composable level, you will be able to access the API client as well. Because we have noticed that the developers among the projects, they are using either composables or API client. The composables are used for the most common features, but most of our customers, or basically users, they want to implement customized features, and that's the reason why they, for example, follow with the using API client itself. So sometimes they are using either composables or API client. So we came up with the idea to maybe, let's say, to some extent merge this together. So besides using just the composable, you will be also have access to the API client from the composable level. But when it comes to more details, of course, the implementation will be presented in the next live. And of course, there is an RFC on GitHub, and you can, for example, left a comment there if you, for example, wants to introduce some changes in this API. Secondly, we are going towards releasing also multi-stores to support the multi-storing on the Vue Storefront level, along with the channels. We know that some of the commerce platforms are implementing stores or channels. Channels is something like it's responsible for managing the warehouses, but of course we will enclose that in the multi-store feature in general. Next thing is the forgot password, because actually we haven't implemented the forgot password even until today. So also we are going to release that in the next version. And lastly, when it comes to integrations, we are going to release Algolia implementation and an Auth0. Algolia will be used here to manipulate and browse the catalog of the data. Of course, I mean here the products, categories, pagination, sorting, faceting, and so on and so on. And last thing is the Auth0. Auth0 will be the integration responsible for authentication. Of course, that integration will be implemented by using use user, so that will be available from this composable level. Okay, so that's all when it comes to plans and the last release. Now I'm passing my voice, I think, to Philip to talk about the Shopify. So thank you, guys.
Yes. So regarding the Shopify integration. Viral, who is working on this integration from our labs, he couldn't be here today, unfortunately, but he asked me to speak on his behalf, and he sent me this beautiful Excel file I'm just sharing with you, which is outlining the things that they want to work on in the upcoming release. So as you can see, they are working on, like from the features perspective, they are working on the search mechanism. So this is probably one of the most requested feature. They also want to include error handling, success and error handling in a form of notifications. So in Vue Storefront right now, we have ability to send notifications. And at the same time, they also want to add a little bit more features into the cart, but UX-wise, and they're basically adding this small bit called confirmation box. So every time you're removing something from the cart, you are asked if you want to remove this. The next thing is that they want to upgrade to 2.3. So everything that Patrick has told you about, including middleware, right now will be a part of Shopify integration. And they also want to restrict access to the pages that are only for logged-in users. So this was not there until now, and they are planning to add this. On the My Account, they want to allow to change passwords. They want to allow newsletter subscriptions and address management for logged-in users. And at the same time, they also want to extend the current composables with some additional functionalities. They want to also extend the data formats from Shopify by SDK to allow you access to the more data. And in the end, they also want to implement this content for Shopify CMS. So that's the update from Shopify. Now I am passing voice to our new friend, Aitor from Ecritel. Aitor, do you hear me?
About the Magento integration, since the start of the integration, we had like plus new 10 versions of the beta integration. A lot of things were changed and improved. We had the checkout process done with all the basic payment process like check and money orders. We finished the external checkout integration. We have been developing the new external checkout for Magento 2 by our guys at Ecritel for a new plugin. The discount codes and discount systems working as the same way as working in Magento. So if you place a new discount coupon when you have in your cart, you can remove it from your cart like in the same place on the input box. We have like the categories filter were done by a community member, Enrique Lopez. It's already merged in the master. We have some issues that we're fixing, but the feature is there. The user workflow, like for manage all the user file, address, newsletter, reviews, it's already done. So we have like 90% of the My Account system done. So I think that by the end of the week, all the user will be done with wishlist. The customizable products is being done by another Ecritel member, Aleph, and I think that it's being shipped by the next week. And lastly, like I said, the wishlist workflow is in development and will be shipped. But people are asking for an ATA for a stable release or a release candidate, and our estimate for those are that by the end of July, maybe we have like a first release candidate for the community that can be used as a more stable version for Magento that will have like almost all the features needed for starting your store, but using the external checkout. And if you want to develop your own payment provider, you can use the internal checkout because it's all finished, but you haven't done any internal checkout payment provider like Adyen, Braintree, or anything, but it's all finished. And we have a fixed roadmap connector that everyone could check and see if the things or issue that they want, it's there. And you have an open issue box that people can put the issue and problems and to manage so we can improve the connector. And you are really digging for help because community helping the connector is very good for issues, for features, and what people want for the connectors to get a good connector running on Vue Storefront too.
Okay, thank you very much. By the way, Aitor will be taking a very interesting position in Vue Storefront from the next month. I won't reveal what position. Some of you will probably connect dots, but some of you don't. So stay tuned because next month we have awesome news for our community. And right now we are going into Salesforce Commerce Cloud integration made by ForkPoint and maintained by Pavel Pavlov. Pavel, do you hear me?
I do, yes. Hello, everyone. So on the SFCC front, we don't really have all that much news at this moment that would sound exciting. And the main reason for that is because we sort of spent the time to get our repository to a state which would allow us to move forward in a more efficient way. So basically what we've done is we've set up automation that allows us to publish new versions with every change that we do. So that would hopefully, as I've noted down here on my little slide, it would sort of unlock the path forward for us for quick iterations. So right now we're in the process of extending the beta version that we have to hopefully get us to a stable release as quickly as possible. So we also have, I haven't even noted that, but we have fixed a couple of bugs that we had. So if anyone's encountered anything mostly related to authentication and tokens and the like, these have been fixed. One big change that several community members raised as an issue on our end was that in many cases, especially when using the newer Salesforce Commerce API, error logging was not sufficient. It was not really possible to tell what issues you had with setting up a project. So we've released an improvement to that, sort of an extension to the standard Vue Storefront logger, which allows us to strip out the irrelevant information and to actually display the actual SFCC errors in the console. So that should allow you to track down any issues you have in setup. This is a version that's now released on NPM, and the template has also been updated. So if you use the CLI, that would guarantee that you have the newest version and you have that fix available. Something else that we've done, one of the improvements that was promised during the review, we now have the option to select between Okapi and the Salesforce Commerce API for every single endpoint. And this is something that is going to continue being maintained for every future release and every new endpoint that we implement in the future, for which it is possible, of course, because the Commerce API does not have the full capabilities of Okapi. So if you check the documentation right now, you can see a way to switch any endpoint to Okapi. And that would give you benefits that we've already discussed. You will be able to control caching and other Okapi functionalities. So what we're trying to do in the near future, we are looking to complete the other improvements to the open source version that we want to do. Namely, we want to be able to control the lookouts and currencies from SFCC, which is something that is now in progress. And we also want to allow the metadata that's defined in SFCC, all the custom attributes, all the model enrichments to be available as TypeScript definitions in Vue Storefront. to enrich the developer experience. Other than that, as you can see, we are sort of locking down a roadmap at the moment. There haven't been many changes for now to the enterprise features that we already discussed during the review. So anyone who wants to catch up with that can look at the YouTube recording. But we will be able to publish a roadmap over the next couple of days and give a more clear understanding of where that is going.
Awesome. Thank you, Pavel, so much for putting so much effort on making this integration awesome. And before I will jump further into, I think, Magento integration for Vue Storefront 1, I also want all of you to be aware that everything that we're discussing regarding the releases of core is also included in the commerce list integration, because it's always going in pair. So this is why we're not having a separate slice for that. Now, let me pass the voice to Filip Jędrasik, who is in our Radom studio, and he will tell a little bit about the current state of Vue Storefront 1 and also features plans for this.
Okay, hello. I'm going to tell you what happened in Vue Storefront 1 since, well, from April. So there we merged a bunch of things to the both core and themes, and I'm going to tell you what happened. So the first thing is fix of loading default shipping address. So as a signed-in user, we could set up default shipping address. However, on checkout view in the shipping step, it did not work perfectly. Only a few fields has been filled. Now it works properly, and it is merged in 1.12.3. Another thing is fix for pagination of order history. It did not work properly for more than 2 pages. Now it works well, and we also have written unit test for that feature. Next thing is fix of ESLint warnings. So it's a pretty obvious thing. Another interesting thing is synchronization of totals between tabs. So if you add item to the cart and in one tab, and totals are being updated, you have also update with inside other tabs with same shop without additional redundant requests. So it's really, really cool. We had this one for items previously, and now we have this one also for totals. However, in the last bullet, you could see that we have same for multi-store environments since this version, because earlier we did not see that, but now we fixed it, because in multi-store environment, local storage keys in Vue Storefront 1 has store code prefixes. So we forgot about implementing this, and now we fixed it, and it works perfectly in multi-store and single-store environment for both totals and cart items. So that's great. Another thing which was requested was to support trailing slashes in route paths. Now we have it, so you can feel free to have slash at the end of your URLs. Another thing is fix for purge loader. I'm not sure if everyone is aware about purge loader. It is dedicated webpack loader written by Gipki Gonzo to get rid of some fields from the config, which should not be available in the source of the page. For example, a key to clear cache. It should be only for server, but it shouldn't be in page source. So we developed it, it worked well. However, if we enable another option in our configuration, which is dynamic config reload, just after the launch, we did not have these fields. However, if during the application is working, someone edited config, it has been overwritten because of obviously dynamic config reload, and this purge loader has not been respected. Now it is respected, and it works properly with this configuration. Another really cool thing is from Pau, from our community. It has been a pull request that significantly decreased hot reload time during the development. It is really cool for slower devices, because Vue Storefront 1 development is really demanding for the devices, and now it works much faster. which is great because it is not like 10%, it's like 150%. So that's huge thing. And last bullet from the 1.12.3 is that we are using date.js for dates to fix a bug on Safari, because I'm not sure if you are conscious, but on Safari, dates has a different format than in other major browsers. So when we have been using new date object, just new date, constructor of date built in browser, for Safari it did not work. So we replaced new date with date.js in tagsprite.ts file, and now it works perfectly because we do not base on native browser API from Safari. So it works on Safari and other major browsers. In terms of recent pull request from 1.12.3, that's all. And now I'm going to tell you what's new in 1.13. So we prepared phone number validator with unit tests. We did not use any library like awesome phone number, because I know it is enough to just use a simple regex for everyone. And if anyone needs something more in their shop, he or she will just download a package. Another thing, to be honest, from today is fix of wrong prices after applying a coupon. So after you applied a coupon with certain type in Magento 2, there was a possibility when special price of product does not have tax counted in. So the first thing is, obviously we fixed it. The second thing is the logic was in both themes. So we moved the logic from both themes to the core. And in core, we created dedicated helper and written unit tests for it. So it is now it is as it should be, and it is really a solution I'm proud of. The next thing is unit tests for option label helper. Option label is one of most popular helpers in Vue Storefront 1 ecosystem. It is responsible for replacing attributes option ID. So for example, you call this helper with arguments like type of attribute color and ID of option 12, and it returns green. So it returns the label from number. We had one small bug there. We fixed it and decided to, and as we were fixing it, we decided to also write unit tests for that. So this is what we have. Another cool thing, since 1.13, we have support for async mutator hooks. It was pointless to have async listener hooks, so that's why we only implemented mutators. We also applied unit tests for that, so feel free to use it. Another things are unit tests for async data loader. Next one is bug fix for using different stores concurrently. That is really important one, because in previous versions, for a moment, we have been using global object for store, and it was really bad idea because the object has been shared between requests. So if during the same second two users entered the website, one from Poland and other one from Germany, and two different stores, so one user could get store code of the second one, because they server used same area in the memory for both of them. We fixed it in this version. Another important thing fix is possibility of change both email and password at once in edit profile of my account. Earlier it was impossible because if you change email, the second request has been used the old email or the opposite, so it was impossible to be successful with both requests. Now default filters array from config can contain attributes that do not have any options. You might ask why. The thing is that you might want to load the whole property because other values might be interested for you on every view. For example, we did it based on some issue from our forum when one of the developers wanted to add to this array category ID and fetch data of that, and he received errors because category ID did not have options array. Now it works perfectly fine for both cases, and as change was related to option label, so we have we covered both cases with unit tests during this refactor I've talked about previously. And the last but not least thing from core 1.13 is that I've created a new server hook called before build cache key. And as you probably know, in Vue Storefront 1, we have feature to cache stuff in Redis. We are caching SSR output in Redis cache, and then just we are serving it directly from the Redis instead of forcing to use Node.js to server-side rendering. However, my device, we have a device module that allows us to render different HTML markup based on user agent. So there might be a situation when you enter from mobile, cache stuff, and you have cached mobile markup, and then when someone from desktop enters the site, he or she gets mobile markup for desktop. It is really bad. Probably it would end up with DOM exception, and whole website won't get hit rated. So it would be really bad. That's why I created this hook. Now I use this hook in device module, and based on the user agent which is used. So now key for storing HTML markup in Redis using also type of user agent. So it knows if it is maybe. So it is important that device. Okay, my bad. It is important that device module now looks for type of user agent. So is mobile, is desktop, is tablet. Now it works properly on every type of device. Okay, about changes in DIM. Mostly performance changes and bug fixes. In terms of Capybara, we have bug fixes in patch for 1.0.5, and we have bug fixes for 1.1.0. Future plans for Vue Storefront 1. So definitely we are going to release Vue Storefront 1 in this month or next month. To be honest, I had hope I will do it before this live stream. However, I've seen that we have to prepare also some patch release for Vue Storefront Capybara. That's why at first I will release 1.0.5, and then I will release 1.12.3 of Vue Storefront 1. After that, obviously, I will work hard on Vue Storefront 1.13. We have a bunch of issues in roadmap. Probably new ones will appear. And together with 1.13, we will release Capybara 1.1 and Vue Storefront default in 1.13. Another thing which is really important is that we are moving our Magento 2 to Google Cloud Platform. That's why you could have some issues in recent days and a few following working days with our demo on both demo.storefront cloud and test.storefront cloud. So do not worry, we are working on it, and soon everything will be fine on demo. That's all from me. Hope you have detailed information about everything in Vue Storefront 1. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Philippe, for this very exhaustive and detailed information about everything that happened in Vue Storefront 1. As you can see, there's a lot happening in Vue Storefront 1, and we have amazing plans for this project. And we also have 2 more projects to talk about right now. So there will be Shopware PWA and Storefront UI in the end. And after that, there will be a Q&A session if you have some questions for us. So now I'm passing voice to Maciej Kuzmus, who is in our Wrocław headquarters or in his house, probably on his house, to talk a little bit about Shopware PWA.
Yeah, I'm in my house, and yeah, it's really hot outside and inside as well, so it won't be easy. Okay, so you may know we just released some time ago the 0.9, which was mainly done because we needed to catch up the Shopware in version 6.4. And not only that was the main reason. We did a lot of fixes and features and improvements that I will be talking about later. And yeah, today, under the pressure of the community, which is the greatest testers in the world, and yeah, from this place I can thanks to especially for the mess, BJ, and of course, it's obvious the Niklas Wolf for supporting and working with us on the project. And yeah, thanks to this, we got a lot of issues to be implemented in the fix release. And yeah, we can proceed. So it wouldn't be possible to run the Shopware PWA with Shopware 6.4 without the plugin that is baked by the Dominic line from Shopware. And yeah, don't forget to update your plugin if you are switching between the versions to the newest, because without, yeah, you can leave on the compatibility table without, you're reading my mind. Without those versions, if the versions don't match, we will probably will see each other on the community Discord channel. And yeah, just keep in mind that the compatibility table is in our docs, and you need to follow the instruction, the migration. So let's get back on the track. Yeah, compatibility. I listed here the most important parts that were affected by our last couple of week work. And yeah, the Shopware 6 client, a lot of methods were changed or removed if it was previously deprecated. Replace it or mark it as deprecated. For instance, we are not longer using the create guest order, and we are using the create order instead of this. And yeah, we don't need the API version. And yeah, the way that we are accessing the data in many places has changed as well. For instance, the entity result, when we are talking about the multiple entities that can be assigned in the response. And yeah, no, please stay on the previous one. Okay, so the default theme, it's worth mentioning. That's why I ask you to step back. We reduced the checkout to be very easy to use, to customize, and we've got only 2 steps now. And yeah, probably it's another breaking change. All of these things you can see here are marked as a breaking change, but with our migration guide, you will probably make it without biggest changes, biggest problems. So, and the composables, yeah, we improved the use session use user composable. We've got handled the guest session, and with upcoming release, not upcoming, today's release 0.9.1, we've got this fancy button on the top, which enables the users that can be locked out, even if it's a guest session. I know it's strange for not Shopware people, but yeah, we've got this. We can proceed. Okay, regarding the default theme, it's still using the Storefront UI. We upgraded the version to the almost latest one. So thanks to this, we've got better performance and some improvements as well. So great. Product details page can be built by using the Shopware experiences, which is the built-in CMS. So yeah, I think it's the biggest improvement on both sides, Shopware and Shopware PWA. And that's why we decided to split the product details page components into smaller pieces. And yeah, unfortunately, it's another breaking change, but yeah, we need to live with this. And yeah, of course, the product detail page can be still the static one. The CMS is only an option here. And yeah, another thing, there is no checkout factory. We're just using the one page plus according components. And yeah, I think thanks to this, we've got better developer experience. And yeah, guest session is the thing I mentioned before, so we can proceed. Okay, so few things that you probably know, but it's good to know for not that involved people as we are. That's configuration improvement. We moved almost all configuration that is being generated using CLI in our boilerplate to the next module that can be imported and extended in the next config.js. So thanks to this, you won't lose the compatibility if we change something significant or relevant in the core. And yeah, you won't need to copy the whole config from, I don't know, from the core. Okay, so another thing which is good to know, yeah, we've got experimental feature that enables you to use your own image processor. That is just a proxy. You can just use it as a external image processor, like not like CDN, but it can be also like CDN. You can just or it's maybe more work need to do with this. Just host the image processor, or I don't know, launch the headless function on AWS Lambda or something that can process the image, save the image, or return the image in the different size or whatever. So you can try this on by enabling the environment variable, experimental image processing server. That should point to your server, like Vercel. Yeah, we did it for the Vercel in our demo site, so we can see. Okay, the next one. Okay, so another thing is, yeah, this is a really good news for the plugins creator. So we extend the Shopware PWA. It's possible to extend the Shopware PWA via plugin in terms of pages and layouts. And yeah, in this example on the left, we can see how to do this by writing the config file and add some relevant entries like pages and layouts. So yeah, and it's added in the build time when you just synchronizing the Shopware PWA by using the CLI. Okay, the next one. Yeah, the TypeScript support. In plugins, components, theme, the whole logic can be written also in TypeScript. So yeah, we are expecting that we are heading to the new era of the errors on our community channel, but we are prepared. So yeah, I encourage you to keep us posted if everything is not working well. So next one. Yeah, fixes and improvements. I listed the most fancy things, but in our changelog are also the others. So during the initialization, the project, we are checking if the provided API has installed plugin. And if the API is reachable, it makes sense to see what's happening during the init, because we are fetching some data in the project initialization. So it's good to know this. Maybe please get back here once again. Okay, the newsletters for plugins in CMS entities. So not only the static pages can be overwritten by the plugins coming from the Shopware. Now you can do this for the pages, sections, blocks, and elements that are generated dynamically. And the last one, the code sandbox, is a bit updated as well. It's for that people who don't want to create the project and locally, and I don't know, maybe for some reason don't like Node.js locally. So good to know. And another thing, yeah, and of course, as always, I'm talking about stabilization. It's our main milestone, and the roadmap will be available sooner or later, I don't know. But yeah, after getting aligned to the 6.4, we just get more time to prepare the roadmap and rethink everything once again. So yeah, thank you. Visit our GitHub and Discord channel and share your opinion about the project. See you guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Maciek, and sorry for changing slides too early. That's not my strongest point. In my defense, I can say that I haven't slept a single hour during this night, and we had a very exhaustive workshop, so pardon me.
Feel your pain.
The pain of being alive. Okay, so right now, for the first time ever, we are having a Storefront UI representative on our stream. Please meet young Andrew, Kuba Andrzejewski. And so, Kuba, I'm passing voice to you. Please say hello to everyone.
Hi. Swiftly moving on to Storefront UI. So as Philip mentioned, this is the first time for someone from Storefront UI team to be present on this live stream. So I'm really pleased to be here. So if you could move on to the next one. For today, we only have 2 big points. First of these 2 will be the library stabilization. So for the past few weeks, we've been working heavily on fixing bugs. These bugs, the bugs that were the biggest issue for the community and the clients. So we had several issues regarding the performance of the library, regarding the CSS variables, for example. So we are working hard on fixing all of these issues. And we will also releasing a new version of Storefront UI next week, so probably on Monday. So stay tuned. It will be 10.7 version. Going further, we implemented Cypress for end-to-end testing. So another point to make the library more stable, because we already had Jest implemented for unit tests. We also, in the last version, we added Cypress for end-to-end testing. Implementing most demanded features, because there are already many features in the library that are not implemented and should be. So, for example, the grid system and the better extendability of variables, CSS variables. So you have few of these issues on our roadmap that we will be implementing in the next versions of Storefront UI. Up-to-date docs. We moved our docs from the OVH deployment to GCP. So we now have full control of the docs of Storefront UI, because we had issues that the docs wasn't up to date. So we, for example, had a version 10.3 as the latest when we already released 10.5. So that's why we updated that. And this is a continuous process, because we will be also implementing a lot of changes to the docs, because we heard from the community that for some places in Storybook, for example, for examples of real life code, the show code option wasn't actually showing the code. It was just showing the name of the component, which is you can't work with that. You want to have a full knowledge of how the component is working, what props does it accept, and so on and so on. And lastly, in terms of library stabilization, we're also involving community, not only for developing the features with us, but also with giving the feedback, because we really like getting the feedback from the experienced people who used Storefront UI a lot. So yeah, I think that's it for that point. If you could, Philip, move to the next one, or Andrzej. Yeah, thanks. And the second big point for today is the performance improvements. We noticed several issues regarding performance. One was the second point, but I will start with it. With SF Hero, for example, you had this problem that due to bad declaration of CSS variables, the SF Hero was constantly, after each slight change, the SF Hero was constantly sending requests for the images, even though they were already downloaded. So we had this infinite loop of images that needed to be fixed as soon as possible. Another feature would be the refactoring atomic components to functional. We noticed a slight improvement in how the components were working when we transformed them into functional ones. We also refactored some of our components to work without JavaScript, because we noticed that for several components, they were loading a lot of JavaScript for the logic that could be easily done with CSS. So that's we refactored some of these components so that they are using JavaScript only if it is needed, not if something can be done with CSS easily. We also have this Lighthouse CI integration, because, as I said, we not only want to update or upgrade the performance, we also want to monitor it and do it continuously. Because we know that, for example, for today, the performance might be better, but it's good to monitor it so that in the future, we will also know how certain features are improving or decreasing the performance of the library. And the last point for today will be the tree shaking, which is a work in progress, but it's nearly done. So this is something that would improve the performance of the library, especially if you are using a lot of Storefront UI components or just a few. It will just mean that you will only import to your funnel bundle the components that you're actually using. So you won't be loaded with the logic, with the JavaScript, with styles of the components that you have not imported to your web page. So yeah, I think that's it from the Storefront UI part. As I said, on Monday or Tuesday next week, we will release the next version. So stay tuned. and thanks for having me here.
Thank you, young Andrew. Just a bit of clarification on tree shaking. Keep in mind that this is possible right now through raw source, but we are working on bundling Storefront UI into different chunks, so you don't even need to use raw source. You just have a separate chunks for each component, and this should significantly increase the build time for projects that are opting out for using raw source for Storefront UI. And that's it for all our updates. The last things I want to mention is that you can meet us on the events this month. So on 21st of June, we are joining the Composable Commerce Web Breakfast organized by E2X and Commerce Tools, and you will hear a story of Lovecrafts, actually our first client who sponsored the Commerce Tools integration. So they are migrating from Magento monolith to the Mach architecture, including Vue Storefront and Commerce Tools, and they have a very interesting case study. So if you're curious how it works, what challenges they faced, and what was their path from Magento to Commerce Tools and Mach architecture, don't miss this event. And on 29th of June, there will be a discussion panel with different vendors organized also by E2X. And it will include me, and we'll talk a little bit about the challenges of the modern web and how we can get ahead. So about the things that are coming right now to the modern web, about the things that we have now, about the challenges of making well-performing websites, about using native APIs. We will probably talk a lot about Lighthouse, about mirroring scores, and the impact of Core Web Vitals, because as from layer 0, they have a very, very deep knowledge about this. So don't miss this event. And well, thank you very much for staying with us. It was very exhaustive, let's say, update this time. We told you a lot of information, a lot of details, but if for some reason you still have questions for us, we are here to answer them for the next 5-10 minutes, depending on how much of them there will be. Okay, so regarding SAP Hybris roadmap regarding Vue Storefront, right now we are in Accelerator, SAP Foundry, and we are building integration together with them. We are on the very early stages, so probably in the next 2-3 months you can expect something between POC and MVP. But as I said, we are on the very early stages. So if you're planning a production website on SAP Hybris and Vue Storefront, probably plan it for the end of this year or for the beginning of the next year. Do we have any other questions? No. Okay, so we will stay 2 more minutes. If there will be no more questions, then thank you so much for staying with us. I see that the number of people that watched us was more or less on the same level. So thanks for staying with us for the whole update, to those who did. And we see each other next month. Oh, we have a question. So how close are you working with the Vue Storefront Next Magento to external team? Is the core team supporting? Well, I think HR could tell for himself, we are working very closely with him, and he's working for Equitel, who is actually building this integration. And HR from the next month will be also joining Vue Storefront. He will still be working for Equitel for Magento to integration, but he will also be part of Vue Storefront core team. So knowing this, I think he will work very closely with Vue Storefront core team being part of it.
It will be a very close relationship.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question. Tomek, stop writing on phone, show the question. Any updates on Kibo Commerce roadmap? To be honest, I don't know. You can ask on the Discord. We don't have that much close relationship with the guys who are working on Kibo Commerce, even though we are getting regular updates from them. I think the last time we talked, they were very close to release an MVP. just ask on our Discord. I think you will get an answer. Why is Storefront UI difficult to integrate in Ubuntu 16 GCP? I have no idea. Maybe it could be because of the Node SAS, because we recently got an issue. So perhaps if we will do the update tomorrow by Young Andrew, maybe it would be a little bit better. But we didn't get any other reports about like issues of Storefront UI with Ubuntu 16. Are there any support for Drupal or WordPress as a backend? So for Drupal, not to my knowledge. I know that there is someone who is working on Vue Commerce integration, so perhaps they will also do WordPress integration as a CMS, but I'm not entirely sure when. I know that they're doing Vue Commerce and that they did some initial work on that. For WordPress, I think if you want to use it as a data source, there are already different plugins for Next.js already available. They're just not exposing this as a composables, but still I think it's better than nothing. Are there any successful integrations with Intershop? As far as I know, we had some talks with some folks who wanted to integrate with Intershop, but as far as I know, they never did get to the stage when they started the project and started building the integration, especially for Vue Storefront Next. But we'll see what the future will show. Not for now. Is there a publicly visible location for the Shopify roadmap you shared? I think I will ask Viral, who is maintaining the integration, maybe to share it publicly. I know there was something on the README. I can't check right now because I'm on the stream, but please check the GitHub of the Shopify integration. There is probably a link to README in the README to the roadmap. And if not, please ping Viral on the Discord to do this. Strappy. I think no one ever reached to me saying that they are doing Strappy integration. I know there is someone who is doing Sanity. It's still starting with S, and it's a CMS. So maybe that's something. Thanks for being with us. Okay, guys. Okay, I think we don't have any more questions. Please keep in mind we are still on Discord. We are answering your questions daily. You can also drop a DM to me, but if this is something that others would like to learn about as well, it's better to leave your message on the Discord channel about the specific integration. And well, see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.